Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 8 most profitable home improvements that you can do, and we're going to show you the examples right here. Let's get started. The first one that I think everyone should do almost every 6 months, 12 months, which means you're probably due for it, is updating your baseboards with a new coat of paint. Not only your baseboards, but also your door trim, the molding around the doors, and crown molding if you got it. Because anytime you can brighten up your moldings in a room, you create more of a contrast between the color of your wall and your baseboards. And if you're a rental property owner and you're still stuck in the 80s painting the walls Navajo white and painting the baseboards the same color, you're making a big mistake. You should absolutely always have a contrasting color between the wall and the baseboard. That way you can clearly distinguish the floor and crown molding if you have it the instant you walk into a room, and what that does is it creates the impression of a larger space with more depth because you see contrast. If you don't see that, it's going to hurt, especially if you're selling a property or you're just trying to impress your friends. So in my opinion, this is something where you could spend a couple $100 on new semi-gloss white paint. I generally recommend Swiss Coffee semi-gloss because it doesn't get as dirty as the ultra pure white, though if you really want to go for sizzle when you're selling, you could go for ultra pure white. Problem is, you don't want to end up painting a baseboard ultra pure white and then leaving a door Swiss Coffee, because then all of a sudden all the Swiss Coffee trim will look yellow. Usually I just go with Swiss Coffee semi-gloss. That's what this is right here. This is an edgecomb gray color right here. You've got a nice contrast between the two, and that's all you need. Ultra pure white, be careful with that one. Doesn't cover too well. But I believe here's a place you can spend $200, touch everything up, all your trim, probably create the impression of about $5,000 of value. So hands down, 20x, easy do-it-yourself project to increase the value of your home. Now, the next one that's an easy 5x and super easy do-it-yourself project is stop trying to spend money on like really expensive appliances. What people care about in homes is new appliances. This range right here is a $599 range that we used a coupon on at Lowe's, okay? And if you don't have coupons at Lowe's, we have a partnership with Lowe's in our do-it-yourself property management course and our rental renovations course, linked down below. It's also in the Zero to Millionaire Real Estate Investing course. Check those out with a coupon code down below. But anyway, get these. Right now, this project's still in renovation, so a little dusty right now. We've got microwave, obviously, the vent hood here built into the microwave and the stovetop. A new one of these, a new set of appliances, whether it's dishwasher, stove, microwave, makes a huge difference. If you're ever going to sell a property, get a property appraised, the impression of the cleanliness of the appliances and how new they are is everything. They don't have to be sub-zeros. They don't have to be really expensive. You put a new appliance package in, $300, $600, dishwasher, $500, you're $1,100 in, you could likely create the impression of having spent $5,000 to $8,000 on value in the kitchen. That's an easy way to make more money or create more values just by having appliances that look new, clean, functional, ready to go. You don't need the expensive stuff. You don't have to have Sub-Zero. You don't have to go wild. The same is true for rentals. The same is true for sales. I don't care. This right here is a nearly $2 million property. I'm not putting in a $20,000 cooktop or stove. Somebody else wants to do that? Great. But see, if I put in a $20,000 range right here, maybe the house would sell for $5,000 more. Or I could put in an $1,100 appliance package and the house ends up selling for $10,000 more rather than having something old or cringy or gross or whatever. It's all part of the impression too. And so spend less money creating more value on new things. People like new. New is nice. Now, if you have a single-story home, the next one's really easy, in my opinion, can lights. Or you do this on the second story, but you're usually going to have the most bang for your buck adding can lights in your family room or living room. Right here, we've added about 10 can lights. Let's say you add 10 can lights, about $20 per piece, plus a roll of Romex, call it $300, and then run the Romex, staple it appropriately, and have an electrician do the terminations for you if you're not comfortable. So budget $600. You can create a $6,000 to $10,000 value, a more than 10x value by adding can lights. simply by doing the work, especially on a single-story home. Now, the nice trick that I like to do is I like to put in 100-watt flat can lights, the ones that come with the little slim boxes as well, super easy to put in. The reason I get 100 watts is because I throw them on a dimmer. You just have to make sure you have recessed cans that are LED and compatible with the dimmer you get. So check that, otherwise you're going to have flickering. Get a 100-watt set, and then that way, if you want to have them about 65 watts like a normal light, you just pull the dimmer down about 35%. That's simple. But the 100 watts give you that range. So when it's time for the appraiser to come, or it's time for an open house, or you want to sell a house or rent a house, boom, that place is bright. Now, it depends on your type of property as well. See, this property is an east-facing property, which means it's really bright in the mornings, which isn't when people like prospects who would want to buy or rent this property would be here. They're going to come after work. And if they come after work, the sun's setting on the other side, so we generally get shade in the back here, which means less light is reflecting into this area. So it's critical that we brighten it up more with more can lights. Now, on the flip side, if we were on the other side of the channel and we were pretty bright at night and pretty bright because we've got the sunset coming in, maybe we wouldn't have had to spend the money on the can lights, but still, it's usually a pretty good ROI. And that's what we're all about, is return on our investment. Next one, so few people do it, and you can do it in so many places. Not only can you do this in kitchen cabinets and bathrooms, but every single door in your property, folks, should have contrasting hardware, okay? Hardware that is contrasting from the doors. We want to get rid of the old brass, the old gold. You want to spend about $40 per door, and when you paint these doors, you want to make sure you take the hardware that's there off first. Then do your light sand, your paint with that contrasting paint we're talking about. After it's all done, then put your hardware on so you don't get any weird rings around here. But make sure you also do the hinges, folks. Hinges are so inexpensive. Just make sure you get the proper ones, whether they're 3 screws or 4 screws, or they're square edge or they're rounded edge. Just take the hinges that you have for your existing doors, take them to the store, buy exactly that many hinges. Like literally, go around, take off all the hinges. You can take the doors off, lean them up against the wall. Usually what people do is you take a little painter's stick, you put a nail in the top of the door, and you number the doors so you know where they go back to. You put numbers on where the door came from, number on the painter's stick on the top so the door's numbered, lean it up against the wall. That makes it easy to flip it around and paint it, but it also makes it easy for you to take the hardware off, throw it all in a bucket, take that hardware to the store, buy exactly that much hardware, and that kind of hardware, especially if you have a bunch of different pieces. But it makes such a big difference to have that, especially if you take, like, let's say a black bronze look or just a straight up satin kind of black hardware against white. Really crisp, super in right now. And again, not just on doors, but you could do this as well by going into kitchens and doing this with kitchen hardware, but also bathrooms, folks. Not that hard. So what we usually do on bathrooms, because bathrooms are smaller, is we go with like a Swiss Coffee semi-gloss on the walls. So we actually lose the contrast that we would otherwise have with a baseboard, but bathrooms are smaller spaces. Everything's going to be Swiss Coffee and semi-gloss in this. But we want to contrast and pop with the hardware. So we're going to do this with the faucets. We're going to do this with the wall hardware. But this is an easy way to create that depth feeling that you could get with paint with hardware. Very important, and it's not that expensive. You could go on Amazon and pick up hardware kits super cheaply. You do not need to overspend on these. What you want to do is budget about 40 bucks a door. You don't need to get crazy Baldwin hardware. The quick sets are fine. You also don't need to get the extremely expensive Moen hardware kits or even fancier ones. Get the ones off Amazon. Totally fine. Consider those. By the way, that $40 per door is probably going to create about $400 of value of impression. That's a 10x. You do that to 10 doors, that's like literally like turning $400 of hardware into $4,000 of impression value. Quite frankly, in many cases, it could be worth a whole lot more, especially if you have that consistent feel throughout a home. It just makes the home feel so much more updated. The next one you could save a ton of money on, which is something you should absolutely do in rentals or renovations, folks. Stop spending a fortune for contractors to make you a appropriately built shower pan. It is a fortune. It's just not worth it. You're going to spend $4,000 just on having a good quality shower pan by somebody actually mortaring it and tiling it. So what you should do, instead of spending $4,000, is you should spend $250 to $300 on a shower pan. Now remember, you can get things even cheaper if you join our programs and join our partnership with Lowe's. Again, those links are down below. Right next to the link for life insurance, you can get in as little as 5 minutes. But take a look at this. This is a very simple shower pan. It's about $250 to $300. The beautiful thing about them, and this is the secret about them, is you put them in and they don't leak. Why? Because it's one piece. It's literally one piece. You don't have to worry about multiple layers of masonry and concrete and screeds and waterproofing and sealing. It's a disaster. A nice shower pan like this, your feet don't know the difference. The buyers don't know the difference. The renters don't know the difference. It's an easy way to save money, and it actually leads to less water damage in all likelihoods because most people who do shower pans themselves screw them up. And then whatever's below, ruined. Or worse, you're on a slab, you don't even know, and then you end up getting the mildew problem. Now, sure, you can do tile work yourself as well, or you could throw in a fiberglass surround. But that's going to depend on the value of the home or where in the home it is. I'm a big fan of fiberglass, but obviously we tiled this bathroom here, right? But what do we do for the guest bathroom? Well, I bet you can guess. Let me show you. Full-on fiberglass surround, baby. And let me tell you something, okay? If I were to tile this bathroom, there's no way I'd be getting 6 soap dishes and the corners of the tub to put soap or whatever the heck I want to put in my shower, okay? This, functional, easy to clean, and cheap. But it looks great. And you jazz it up with a nice little shower curtain with some color to get that contrasting pop, and you're done. It's that simple. Very profitable home improvement. Very important. One thing that I like to do, if I don't like to do these myself, by the way, is I just go buy the item at, say, Home Depot or Lowe's. I leave it there for will call, have a plumber pick it up, and then have them put in the tub or the surround or the shower pan. Now, I got a licensed plumber doing the work, but you could also do that yourself. And I really believe you spend $1,000 on a surround like this, getting rid of some old crap that's in here, you're going to create $8,000 of value in most cases. That's huge. Easy do-it-yourself. Next one I'm a big fan of, folks. Ceiling fans. Like, seriously, every single room should have a ceiling fan. But you've got to get an appropriately sized ceiling fan. So if you've got about a 10 by 10 room, you should probably have about a 48-inch fan. And if you go up to even a 20 by 20 room, then you'll probably be at 58 to 60 inches. So don't undersize your ceiling fans, but you don't have to overspend on these. Usually $200 to $250 is the place that you want to be for ceiling fans. Now, generally, you don't want to be in the place where you're spending too little on a ceiling fan, like those $60 to $70 ceiling fans. I recommend you stay away from because the bearings in them, the rubber in them, the motors in them, the LEDs in them, it's all the cheapest crap and they burn out all the time. The biggest thing I get rental callbacks on is from old properties where I used to do the cheap $60 to $70 ceiling fans. Not worth it. You put the ceiling fan box in and a nice $200 fan, you do that work yourself, figure $300 a room, you'll class up the value of each room, probably to the tune of about a 5X, $1,500. Well worth it. Easy do-it-yourself renovation. The next one, folks, some people get mad at me for saying it, but $30 for a 2-pack of Boob Lights, okay? You always get the boobs in a pair. They are excellent. You want to use them in hallways. You want to use them in closets. You don't want to use them as like statement pieces in the middle of a room, okay? Where a ceiling fan should be, you shouldn't be putting boob lights. But closets, hallways, the transitory spaces within a home, Boob Lights. Why are you spending excessive amounts of money on expensive light fixtures in transitory spaces where people are just walking, get from one room to another? You put the expensive light fixtures where people are spending time. The living room, the family room, the dining room, the kitchen, the bathrooms, and of course the ceiling fans in the bedrooms. Everywhere else, boobies. Now, a really large vanity for a larger bathroom is probably going to run you around a couple $1,000, anywhere between $1,000 to a couple $1,000. But I'll tell you, a vanity that's prefabricated, that you've actually measured to size, comes with a countertop, so valuable. Just be warned, a lot of the vanities that they sell you will have a disclaimer that if the backsplash breaks, it's not their problem. That's pretty normal. Usually the backsplashes break. Countertop shouldn't break. Backsplash, you could do yourself. You could do yourself with a quick little bit of tiling. That's easy. But a vanity, even if you spent $2,000 on the vanity and you spent $500 on backsplash material, that will probably increase the value of a bathroom like this by at least a 4X. this looks like $10,000 of value. It's a more expensive job. It's more effort. There are a lot more things that you have to do with this. It's heavy. It's a bigger job, right? It's not a quick and easy one, but it's a value. And that's what you want to send a signal that something is new and nice. And the beautiful thing about newer vanities as well is you generally get the nice, newer rollers. You want to make sure you vacuum out any dust that you got in before, obviously, you go to rent or sell or whatever. Sometimes you get the little soft closers. Really beautiful. Highly recommend it. And as a bonus recommendation, if you're ever doing renovations, I highly, highly, highly encourage that when you go to a toilet, you generally should always tape to the top of the lid, right here, cardboard. The reason you tape cardboard to the top of the lid when renovations are going on is people love using these as tabletops, where they put their tools. Which, by the way, if you want to know the equipment we're using to shoot this video, go to metkevin.com/shop. That's also right next to the link to the programs on building your wealth and life insurance, link down below. metkevin.com/shop. The mics we use, the cameras we use, everything's in that Amazon shop. Pretty easy. But again, put some cardboard over these because otherwise the lids scratch up and then they just look damaged and gross and then you have to replace them. It's not that hard to tape down a little bit of cardboard to the lid. Nobody sits on the lid anyway, so you could put the tape all the way around it. Done. Now you have a protected workbench. People are going to use it as a workbench either way.